to the mic.
He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Let's bring a friend of mine in. Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Lee at third, Ramos at second, Devers at first. Ready to take off with 2 down. The pitch. High and tight. Way up out of the zone at 99 miles an hour. 1-2. Giants trailing 5-3. 2 down, 9th inning. Bases loaded. And the stretch, the pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck it out with a high fastball. That one ran up and in at 99 miles an hour. And the Giants with a threat, but nothing more, as the Giants never did get a hit with a runner in scoring position in this game and in this series.
Welcome into a Sunday evening extra inning postgame show with Bill Laskey as the San Francisco Giants get swept at Oracle Park 3 straight games. And you got to go back to All-Star break where they started in Toronto and they got swept by the AL East first place team, the Toronto Blue Jays, 3 games. They went to Atlanta and lost the first game, and then they come back and rally and win the next 2, thinking that the momentum was coming home to face the New York Mets, but it did not come to fashion as the Giants lost all 3 games, 8-1, 2-1, and then today 5-3. And as John Miller just said, the runners in scoring position, they just could not come up with a clutch hit in these 3 games as they went 0 for 23 with runners in scoring position. 0 for 8 Friday, 0 for 8 Saturday, and 0 for 7 today. The home run ball by Matt Chapman kept him in the game. A solo home run in the 4th inning, a 2-0 cutter that he hit off Senga, and then he came back in the 5th inning and hit a 2-run home run. The Giants had a lead, 3-2. Randy Rodriguez, who only had given up 1 home run in 43 games, gave up a slider that was down and in to Mauricio, who hit it in a splash. He hit a ball in the water, his 5th home run. And then he punched out Nemo and Lindor, and he had Juan Soto 1-0, and he leaked a fastball in the outside corner, and Juan Soto went to left field for his 25th home run, and they took the lead. The Giants had an opportunity many times in this game. They had first and second with only 1 out in the 2nd inning and a punch out by Bailey and Wisely. They had another opportunity in the 8th inning with first and second and a fly ball by Patrick Bailey ended that. But the 9th inning was drama once again at Oracle Park. A walk by Lee, a hit by pitch by Ramos. Rafael Devers fouled off so many pitches and he worked a walk. Now you had the 2 hottest hitters coming up for the San Francisco Giants, Adames and Chapman. Both of them have been scalded in the ball, but Edwin Diaz punched out Adames on a sinker on an outside corner. Just a beautiful pitch, 96 mile an hour, and Matt Chapman went swinging away, and he struck out to end the game, and the Giants lose their 52nd game of the season, are now 54-52. And the numbers keep mounting up, going the opposite way. We want to see more wins, and it hasn't happened. They're 2-7 since the All-Star game. And they were really behind the 8 ball today, as if this was the start for Hayden Birdsong, and he was sent down. They could not fill the starting role, so they had to go to the bullpen. 7 relievers pitched in this game, 7 of them, and most of them did pretty well. You know, when you look at what Spencer Bivens did, he gave them 3 innings. And Bob Melvin pushed him for that 4th inning. He gave up 2 doubles in a row. I didn't think that was a good move. I thought he was done after he got that nice double play ball. And he could have gone another route there, but he pushed him, gave up 2 doubles. Joey Lucchesi, who's just been pitching outstanding, comes in and only holds it down for 1 run. And I thought that was key in that part of the game, really a key point. But as I said, Randy Rodriguez giving up 2 solo home runs, and then Sean Jelly coming in that 9th inning, giving up a couple doubles added on, and the New York Mets had a 5-3 lead. And as we keep talking about that bottom of the 9th inning, you had the right people up. You had the right hitters up. When you look at Adames is 12 for 38 since back from the All-Star break. He was 4 for 11 in this series. Matt Chapman, 10 for 34 since he's been back from the All-Star game. 3 for 11 in this series. But there's a couple guys that are really, really struggling right now. Mike Yastrzemski went 1 for 8 in his 3-game series. He's 2 for 17 since the All-Star break. He's keep looking right down the list here. Casey Schmidt, 5 for 28. Numbers that need to get better. One of the hitters who is hitting hot is Jung-Hoo Lee. Took an 0 for 3 today, but he was 5 for 11 in this series. And I thought that was a key point for him. Leading off, got a couple walks today. Those are the kind of bats we expect out of Jung-Hoo Lee. So you got to turn the page. This series is over, and the New York Mets now have won 7 in a row. Now they go play San Diego for a 3-game series, and the Pittsburgh Pirates come in here for a 3-game series, and we're going to see a rookie debut tomorrow. Carson Whisenhunt will get his first start in the big leagues. The 23-year-old pitched pretty well in Sacramento, 18 starts, 97 and 2/3 innings pitched, 102 hits. He had a 4.4 earned run average, and that's pretty good in the Pacific Coast League. 8 wins, 5 losses, 86 strikeouts in those 97 and 2/3 innings. Gave up 12 home runs and 28 walks. The walks are down as he has definitely made some improvement on the pitch location and selection. Working on a slider. I had him on earlier this year to talk about his new pitch. Of course, his fastball's in the mid-90s, tails up maybe 97, 98. He does elevate it. The changeup is one of the best pitches that he has, probably one of the best pitches any pitcher has in the Giants organization. So he had to work on a breaking ball, and he's throwing a slider now with a little curveball off speed. So tomorrow we get to see Carson Whisenhunt, the number 2 prospect for the San Francisco Giants, to take the mound against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It'll be really fun watching that tomorrow at 6:45. 415-808 KNBR. Let's get the calls going. Got a couple nice interviews later on to the show. Trent Harris, of course, he was in a Futures game in Atlanta. Caught up with him to talk about his trials and tribulations that he found out when he went to AAA. But, boy, he threw the ball real well in AA. And now he's learning to pitch with better hitters. So we talk about that in our conversation. And then a shortstop, Doug Flynn, played with the Mets for many years. He was a Gold Glove shortstop, and got to talk to him about some of the players that the New York Mets and his teammates were, and some great memories of his days, not just with the New York Mets, but also with the World Series with the Cincinnati Reds. Those 2 interviews are coming down the show. But, you know, today was another fantastic day in baseball. The National Baseball Hall of Fame showed up in Cooperstown, and boy, it was just a show for many of the guys. Ichiro Suzuki, fabulous speech. If you can just go and listen to some of these speeches that these gentlemen made, just some fantastic words of encouragement and all the different trials and tribulations that they went through. The Vallejo, CC Sabathia, just had a great career. Billy Wagner, a 7-time All-Star. And then the Veterans Committee voting in Dick Allen, who played for 15 years. And, of course, the Cobra, Dave Parker, who also played for 19 years. We'll be talking a little bit about the Hall of Fame as the show goes on. But let's get the phone calls ringing. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the San Francisco Giants. They're falling fast. They're 54 and 52. They got to stop the bleeding with the Pirates coming into town. So we'll take a quick break. My name's Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader. Did you ever think you could become a big league baseball player? Well, now you can. Come to Big League Coaching Fantasy Camp. It's January 11th through January 17th, 2026 in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Our host hotel is the Marriott Suites for the week. Come play with the great coaches, Joe Youngblood, Shooty Babbitt, Tim Flannery, Scott Gereltz, Mark Davis. Go to bigleaguecoaching.org and sign up today. Become a big leaguer.
You're listening to the former Giants right. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
The pitch. Adames, a check swing roller. Third base side, and it's a fair ball. And now Ramos is going to be out. Ramos, I have no idea what happened there. Ramos got caught too far away from second. Mauricio had no chance to get Adames out, and Ramos was hung off the bag and then just took off, and Mauricio was standing there, and Ramos ran right to him.
All right, back in the extra inning post-game show, as Dave Fleming talked about Elliot Ramos, blunder from second base to third base. Willie Adames hit a ground ball that was still fair, went right to the bag. Elliot Ramos, I don't know if he was thinking it was foul or not. You saw Matt Chapman going, go back, and he kind of just jogged right into Mauricio, and he got tagged out. It was an ugly, ugly play, especially on an ESPN game where it was nationally televised. His head went down, and he walked off the field. But these are the things that need to stop. These are the things that need to be cleaned up, and the base running has been a blunder at different times, inconsistent, and that right there cost Willie Adames a hit. But it also cost Elliot Ramos a huge blunder on the base path once again. Hey, I want to wish Lou Seal. He was inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame. That happened before the game. A lot of mascots came out to celebrate with him, and I've known Lou Seal ever since he put that uniform on, and it's been great. He's been great for San Francisco, been great for San Francisco Giants, especially for kids, and I just commend Lou Seal for all the things that he's done. Ever since the ballpark opened, it's been pretty cool watching him get bigger and better, and now he's in the Mascot Hall of Fame, so very cool. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go out to Kentfield and talk to John. John, you're on an extra inning post-game show. Tough three-game series. What'd you think?
Well, Bill, you know, when we get the broom put on us, Bill, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough when they sweep.
Yeah,
it
did,
home
and the 0 for 23 runners in scoring position doesn't help either. That just kind of magnifies it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and and now we're bringing in our young pitcher tomorrow. You know, I'm starting to see a trend of us just burning through all our young prospects. Birdsong, Harrison. I just hope Buster Posey knows what he's doing. I do. I really pray to God and he knows what he's doing, because if he's here for another 3 years and you already re-signed Bob Melvin and this staff and we can't get a runner in scoring position to score, I mean, he's scaring me. He's really scaring me,
John,
Bill.
why would you,
I don't
John,
want
let
to
me
be
just ask you
associated for another
John,
10 years.
Well, I understand what you're saying, John, and I know you're frustrated, but why are you thinking that they're burning out their young pitchers? I don't understand that point.
Well, you know, you had Hayden Birdsong. You know, he had a lot of confidence at the end of last year. He looked fantastic. And then Buster takes over and puts him in the bullpen and then puts him back as a starter.
Well, Buster didn't put him in the bullpen.
In my opinion, that messed him up.
It was a matter between Landon Roop and Birdsong coming out of spring training. That's where that decision was made. Bob Melvin, J.P. Martinez, as well as Buster Posey talked about it. They felt he was good coming out of the bullpen, and he was. He learned to come out of the bullpen. I think the inconsistencies of him coming into big league level as a starter, I think he just got into a walkathon. He couldn't throw strikes, and it just built up within him. He pitched today. He pitched the first time in AAA today. He pitched 4 innings, 5 hits, gave up 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. 70 pitches he threw, 45 for strikes. So this is something he's got to build his confidence back up. Now you're talking about Carson Wisenhunt coming up. This kid's the number 2 prospect. You need a starting pitcher in this rotation. You're down 2 with Landon Roop being injured and now Birdsong going down to AAA. That's why you had a bullpen game today, John. So I don't think they're burning out pitchers. I think Birdsong got emotionally attacked. He couldn't get people out. He couldn't throw strikes. He got sent to AAA, which he needs to get back on the horse and learn how to pitch again. You had Harrison get traded for Devers, and now you got Carson Wisenhunt filling up a hole, and this is an opportunity for him. So I disagree with the burned out, but I do agree with you in a couple other things. They need to get better with runners in scoring position. You talked about it, and I agree there. The hitting is not disciplined. The hitting needs to make contact. You saw what the Mets did, just putting the ball in play and getting runs. The Giants are striking out way too many times when they get runners in scoring position. So I'll agree with you there, John.
Okay, I agree too. But the problem is, how are we going to win when we can't hit? And we haven't hit all year, which means we ain't going to hit next year because ain't nothing going to change.
I don't have an answer for that one, John. I wish I did. But the hitting is inconsistent. Yeah, John, the hitting has been inconsistent. The 2 top hitters with Chapman as well as Adames came up in the right position in the bottom of the 9th inning. It just could not make contact. And I just talked about that. They just are striking out way too many times in certain situations. But we'll find out, John. You can't just give up on them. They're only 2 games over 500. They just got to get on a hitting streak as well as a winning streak. And I think we're all waiting for that, John. But thanks for the call on a Sunday evening. Let's go to San Francisco and talk to Safe at third. Safe at third, a tough 3-game series. The Giants now 2-7 coming off the All-Star break.
Yes, sir. As always, I'm a positive person. I do believe in these Giants. And like the last caller said, it's Bob Melvin and everybody else can't get out there and hit for these guys. The players that we have on there are professional. They know what they're up against, and it's up to them to turn this thing around. The Mets prove that they're a better situational hitter, and that's what we've got to get. 0 for 23 is just not going to cut it. We have a chance.
I think the biggest thing, too, Safe at third, is just like I said, put the ball in play, and they're striking out way too many times with those guys on base. Today was a perfect thing that happened with the Mets is when they had second and third, and Francisco Lindor came up, and all he did is made contact. He just hit a little one-hopper across the infield. It scored the first run for the Mets. But he made contact, and he got the ball in play, and this is what I'd love to see the Giants do a little bit more of.
Well, one thing I think we need to stop trying to swing for the fence and get it all at one time. Like you say, Bill, a little contact, a little grounder, whatever is going to move the runner, and we don't see enough of that. And I feel that hopefully they're talking to themselves, trying to reason this thing out. Lastly, Ramos, you got to wake up, bro. You got to wake up.
that was an ugly base running blunder right there. Bad, really bad. You saw Matt Williams you could see his face of disappointment. He just looked down. He looked over to the dugout, shaking his head like, how did you do that? Why did you do that? He wasn't even watching the ball because the ball was coming fair. All you got to do is wait for the umpires to call fair or foul before you move. He should have never even come halfway down the line, and he just jogs into third base. I don't know what he was thinking, safe at third.
And he's going to have to wake up. Maybe he needs to sit down for a week, get things together in his head, realize what is in front of him. But I'm still rooting for these guys. I know our pitchers are tired, but we'll get it together. I really feel things will get better because a lot of the teams in our league, the Dodgers are not doing so hot. Padres are having their problems, and the backs are selling. So let's put this.
Yeah, and it looks like the Diamondbacks too. The Diamondbacks are only one game over 500, but I think they're out to sell. I think you're going to see a lot of movement out of the Diamondbacks. I think they're going to try to get rid of some of the pitchers that are going to be free agents at the end of the year. Of course, Suarez, the third baseman, is a huge, huge name that's in everybody's proposals for a trade deadline. And again, you just don't know what they're going to do. I just see them being a trade-happy team and going younger. The Padres might pick up a couple players. Preller loves the deal at the deadline. Well, Buster Posey was on ESPN. I'm sure you saw the broadcast. And they were asking him, and he goes, hey, we're looking at everything possible. And I think they are. He's never going to show his cards, and there's no question there. But they definitely need a starting pitcher. They're looking for infield help. And I think you're right on the head there, Save It Hurt. They need a bopper. They need a guy that can hit.
Yes, sir. And lastly, and thank you for the time, Buster has done everything he can do in his power to put a team out on the field. And on paper, this team should be winning, but we're not. We'll get it together. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be on.
Yeah, thanks for the call again on a Sunday evening. And, you look at what the Mets threw out there. Their bullpen was just fantastic over 3 games. They threw 11 innings in all 3 of these games of the wins by the Mets. 11 innings, 6 hits they gave up, 0 runs from the bullpen with 19 strikeouts. That was very impressive. And, of course, Edwin Diaz picked up 2 saves today. He picked up his 23rd save and got in trouble, but the Giants just couldn't muster anything in the bottom of the 9th. Let's go to Bruce in Palo Alto. Bruce, you're on an extra inning post-game show. A tough 3-game series. What'd you think?
Hey, Bill. Before I mentioned to the screener that I want to talk what I think about when I think about Buster. I think that he may not do anything, but before I do, if I could ask you a question. Base running, isn't it, or you tell me, isn't it Bob Melvin's responsibility to deal with it when the players don't seem to be able to deal with it? And I say that in the sense of what I think caller just mentioned, which is to sit some guys down who are making these blunders for a day or two and put in another player.
Well, it is, but then you take a bat out of the lineup, and I think when you look at who could fill it, Matos isn't really hitting the ball that well. He would probably be one of the guys you would put in left field. If there was somebody that was hot coming off the bench, you would probably do that. But when you look at your lineup and you're saying, if I take Ramos out, what else do I have with any kind of thunder? Ramos is hitting 268, 0 for 3 today with a walk and a hit by pitch. Since he's been back, he's 11 for 34 since the All-Star break. He was 3 for 11 in this series. You can't just give up 11 hits and 34 at bats. So that's the one thing you do take out of the lineup if you do sit him. Of course, we've been talking about the blunders on the base path, but what about the blunders in left field? The defense has gotten worse with Ramos out in left field.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that leads to what I wanted to talk about, and Buster not making some moves. I think it's time for Buster to see what these young guys can do, guys down in Sacramento, and I'm thinking of Luciano, I'm thinking of McRae. I think with Yaz not hitting, as you pointed out at the top of the show, since the All-Star break, he is a free agent. McRae has actually been more disciplined. He's still striking out, but not nearly as much as he did last year. He's showing power. and he's got one element that the Giants don't have, which is speed. He's stealing
You're
bases
absolutely
down
right.
there. Luciano
The only
has been
problem with that,
crushing the
Bruce,
ball.
is he's left-handed, so where would he come into it?
Yeah.
You know, if you do sit Yaz down or you know, give up a $9 million contract with Yastrzemski, you're giving up an older player and an experienced player, but he's a streaky hitter. You know, you look at what he's done, 2 for 17 since the All-Star break. He got 1 hit in the first game. And today, I thought that at bat, when he had full count and he swung at that ball in the dirt, was just ugly. That was just an ugly at bat. You could tell right from him swinging it. He was devastated himself for swinging at it. That was a huge, huge miss right there. They could have added another runner on base at that time.
Well, you talked about the $9 million. There's not much of it left because there's, you know, a small portion of the season left. But I think the key thing is, I think Buster needs to see, so he can decide what kind of moves he needs to make in the offseason.
Yeah, I do too. Even the rest of the season. I think you hit it right on the head. I think you hit it on the head. If this team starts spiraling, start bringing up some talent. Bryce Eldridge had 6 home runs, or 4 home runs in 6 games, but he's only hitting .223. So you got to look at, is that something a 20-year-old can come up, even though he's got power numbers? If he's only hitting .223, there's some problems there in batting and batting average. A couple other guys, Christian Koss, another one, he's hitting the ball well. He went 4 for 5 today, or 3 for 4 or something in a AAA game. You might see him coming back up as a middle infielder. But there's got to be a couple things that happens here to spark this team. And a couple guys, just like you heard ESPN and all the broadcasters talking about Devers, and every one of them said once this guy gets hot, he has been scalding the ball. He has. It's been going right at guys. But we want to see a little more productivity out of him. I was looking for him to hit a home run in that 9th inning. He had a great battle with Diaz, and then he finally got a walk. I was saying, here it is. Open up the eyes of every Giants fan and put one in the cove and watch everybody go crazy. I was hoping. I think a lot of Giants fans were hoping.
Well, I think what concerns me is that he may well continue to hit, whether he hits it at somebody or not. But you can't really just count on one guy. It has to be other guys on this team, each picking each other up. And if they can't, then I think if Buster can't see any players that he can get that are any better than the players he thinks he has down in AAA, he's not going to make a move. The 2 players that are the most attractive right now to me are coming into Oracle this week with the Pirates, and that's Keller, the guy who's pitching tomorrow, and Bednar, the reliever.
Right.
Somehow they can pull that together. I don't think they have the talent to compete with other teams in terms of their minor league system. But who knows? Maybe they do. But those 2 players. Yeah,
and I think we just got to sit on it now, Bruce, till the 31st and watch how all these deals come down here in the next 3 or 4 days. And, of course, it's always down to the last wire, the last hour, the last minute that things can happen. One thing I did hear him say, there's a lot of time now where I'm at the ballpark a little longer than usual. So the decisions are looking at a lot of players. Deals are being made, but what are you giving up? What kind of prospects do you have to give up to get a player? And I don't think they're ready to burn the prospects like Brian Sabean did years ago when they were reaching for that World Series. It was a different feeling back then, and I don't think this team's got that feeling that they can win a World Series.
Right. And I think the only player on the Major League roster that they're willing to trade that will have some value is Duvall. And, they would put Rodriguez in his place. And I do feel like John Miller said today, it was a bit unfair to have him come out for that 2nd inning after he had pitched on Friday. And that's a shame.
Yeah, back-to-back games for him. And that was the same thing when I said about Spencer Bivens coming out after he threw 3 innings. I was a little perplexed when I saw him walking out there for the 4th inning. I thought he pitched really well for those 3 innings, and he got that ball back to him, made that nice double play ball, and I thought, outstanding work right there. 3 innings, only giving up 1 run. He pitched to the meat of the order. I just felt that was unselfish for him to go back out there, and he didn't have much in his tank, and he's been pitching lights out all the different times to go length in games. But we'll find out, Bruce. That's all we can do. We just keep watching these games, and hopefully it turns in the Giants side and they get a couple wins here and get this losing streak out of their mind. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Napa and talk to Jerry. Jerry, you're on an extra inning post-game show on a Sunday night. I see the 4 letters on the screener, RISP. Tell me about it.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Disappointed. I think all Giants fans were. I'm disappointed in these 3 games. I thought for sure they were going to go head-to-head with the Mets and play better, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, the news with Brandon Roop going out, that really, I think, just kind of threw it just
that was tough. That was tough for the starting rotation. When you had to come in today and throw a bullpen game, and 7 relievers jumped in there, and I'm kind of glad to see Carson Wizen come up, and it's going to be a good sign to see if this kid can make it in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, but I think it's bad we got ourselves in this position. I can't believe we're back in this position again where we have to do this bullpen stuff, and we're in trouble. With, where we're in trouble at, Jerry?
I think we're in trouble with the starting pitchers. I thought, Bob Melvin as J.P. Martinez when they got rid of Kyle Harrison, I didn't really think it hurt them because they still had a lot of people that were pitching well in the starting rotation. You had Birdsong and Roop in there, and you had Verlander who was throwing decent, but he was a good guy to be that 5th guy in that rotation. I really thought that Roop and Birdsong could have carried themselves. Of course, Roop did. Birdsong was the one that just didn't fashion out.
I think happened to Roop. I think Roop's been throwing too many curveballs. I think that's why his elbow is lit up.
Well, sinkers too. Sinkers, sliders, and curveballs. I'll tell you that, Jerry. I had that inner elbow swell up on me, and that tendon does it. It's just where his arm slot is. When you see where his arm slot is, you see how that elbow leads all the time, and that's what makes that inflammation come off that elbow.
Yep. Well, this 0 for 23 with runners in scoring position, and this standing there looking at the first pitch. These pitchers know they can just throw the ball right over the plate because the Giants look at the first pitch every time, most of the time. It's crazy.
What do you think about putting the ball in play? Do you see that? It's not happening as much as we thought, putting the ball in play when they do get runners in scoring position.
We've talked about this the last 4 times I called you. We've been talking about this putting the ball in play, not swinging for the fence, contact. But they're not doing it. Why aren't these guys, these coaches telling them, hey, stop swinging up on the ball? They got Jung Ho Lee thinking he's a home run hitter. He's not.
I've been talking about that for a while. He's starting to now swing the bat a little bit better, putting the ball in play, going to left field a little bit. And, the thing about it, Jerry, is old school. We're both old school kind of guys where they used to choke up and put the ball in play. They don't do that anymore. It's more or less, let's see how hard I can swing. Let's see how much exit velocity I can get off the barrel. And I'm old school kind of guy. I like it choking up and just putting the ball in play, seeing if I can push it out the opposite way. But that's not how baseball is being taught now. That's not the way that hitting coaches as well as players want to do. The analytics have changed all that.
Yeah, unfortunately. I hope Buster can find a starting pitcher somewhere. I'd like to see him get that kid Lee from Minnesota. He's from San Francisco.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Him?
Well, we'll find out. That's going to be a huge margin right there for him. I like this Mitch Keller guy. He's pitching tomorrow for the Pirates. He gives you length. They're only averaging about 3 runs a game for him. He's kind of like Logan Webb. He's got a losing record. But I think that's a guy that could fit in, that gives you length 5, 6, 7 innings. I think he's got 30 or 35 games where he's gone 6 or more in his career. He's that kind of guy that eats innings. But again, what does the Pirates want? That's the other question. You're not going to sell the farm for a guy like that. You're going to have to go for a big name if you're going to do that. So we'll find out, Jerry. We can ask, we can wish, we can look at. It's all about what they do in that front office. But thanks for the call, Jerry. Thanks again. I always appreciate your call. Let's go to Salinas and talk to Stick. Stick, you're on Sunday Extra Inning Postgame Show. What's going on?
Okay, man. Thanks for taking my call. I agree with a lot of our callers here. Posey's been doing a great job. I think Posey's been doing a great job. And the managers and coaches, it's kind of one of those things that's an overrated job. You know, that they can kind of swing the success rate a little bit here, make it a little bit worse here with a good decision, bad decision. But for the most part, the players have to go out and you know, they have to perform. And we've got a team right now of guys that are underperforming what their career stats are. You know, and I think that the new teaching of the big leagues of lift the ball and don't worry about batting average and lift and hope some of these balls go out. I mean, if you're Kyle Schwarber and you're hitting 200 with 40 jacks, then
right.
Okay, I get it. But we don't have those guys. We don't have that kind of power. And a lot of these guys
Correct.
need to look in the mirror and say, hey, I maybe need to change my approach because my 210 batting average with 4 home runs, you know, isn't working out. You know what I mean? And
you're absolutely right. And you bring up a great point. You bring up a great point about some guys that want to lift and try to be home run hitters, and they just aren't. You know, you can look at even Mauricio today, the guy that the Mets had. He went 4 for 4, home run, 2 doubles, but he went the opposite way, making good contact. He had a nice base hit in right field, and he took that ball inside Rodriguez, that slider down and in, and he just stroked it right down the line. But he's the number 9 hitter. Number 9 hitter wasn't trying to go hit home runs. He was trying to put the ball in play. And when you look at the Mets and you look at what they did today, most of the damage was at the bottom of the lineup, 7, 8, 9. Alvarez 2 for 4, Mauricio 4 for 4, Marte 2 for 3. Those are the kind of guys that put the ball in play, have a little power, but they're not swinging for the fences every time.
And that's something that we're not seeing. We're not seeing any production from the bottom of the lineup. We have way too many defensive specialists that on other teams would be platoon guys. And you look back, like when we made our run at the World Series, did we have any platoon players? A single platoon player that we had in our lineup?
You can't remember. I remember when Travis Ishikawa had to go play left field because he was hitting so well. Remember that? He was a first baseman, and they threw him out there right in the playoffs to go play left field. And I remember doing an interview with him, and he said, yeah, they brought me out and said, you're playing left field. And he goes, I never was an outfielder. But they forced him out there because he's hitting. He was hitting the hell out of the ball. I don't see that with this team. There still is some holes that need to be filled. But I'm right there with you. I'd like to see some different approaches from the hitters.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind you. And you know, that they need a slump buster. I'm not going to go in and explain what that is on the air, but they need something to change their mindset.
They do.
And
they need something to wake them up, right, Sticks? They do.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. Well, thanks
for
the call, Sticks. Go ahead.
Talking about Ichiro going into the Hall of Fame, I played against CC Sabathia, who also went in this last year, and I remember when Ichiro actually stole the Rookie of the Year from CC Sabathia whenever they were both rookies in the same year, and CC was a big old boy, man. He was a big old stud, you know, and he was. Those are fun guys to play with.
Both of those players were exceptional when you look at all the accolades in their resumes. Just 19 years for CC. I loved what he did when he went from the Yankees to the Brewers, when he walked in the clubhouse and said, hey, we're going to win this. We're going to go to the playoffs. I'll never forget Craig Counsell talking about that. And he said the whole clubhouse said, let's go. We got new life going in. And the Brewers really kicked tail. And then he went over to Cleveland and really pitched well over there. He's in the Cleveland Guardians Hall of Fame. So, you know, a good guy on and off the field. Cisse's fantastic from Vallejo. Billy Wagner was another one that got added in. His story coming up through the minor leagues, playing Division III baseball. These are great baseball stories. And, of course, Ichiro, like you said, the first Japanese player to come into the Hall of Fame. And what a great guy he is. And he was pretty funny in his speech today and just a class guy. Every one of these guys deserve to be in there.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They're the epitome of what big league ball players are supposed to be, and you know, never hear a bad thing about them. Just constantly being great role models for the for the youngsters coming up, and real proud of them. Real proud of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks for the call, Stick. Really, really good talk tonight. I appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Got a good handful of calls coming up. I'm not going anywhere. Let's talk some Giants baseball. And if you saw anything from the Hall of Fame today, please bring it on. I love talking about some of the players that have been elected into the Hall of Fame, especially Dick Allen and Dave Parker back in my era. So I'm Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Let's have some more talk. Let's talk some Giants baseball. Tell me what you feel about it. If it's positive or negative, let's talk it out. We'll bring it right back right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
Ramos sliding right into third. He tagged him out. Inning over. Now there's a high drive into deep center field. Way back there. Still going. Way back. Goodbye! Another home run for Matt Chapman. His second of the game. And for the first time in this game, the Giants have gone ahead.
All right, welcome back to the extra inning postgame, Joe. Giants lose 3 games. They get swept by the New York Mets. The Pittsburgh Pirates are coming into town. 6:45 start tomorrow. Carson Wisenhunt's going to get his first start for the San Francisco Giants. He got called up today against Mitch Keller, 4-10 with a 3.53 earned run average. A lot of teams are shopping Mitch Keller right now. The Blue Jays are one of them, the Yankees, and also the Giants' name was included, but we just don't know when people are putting trade rumors out there. We just don't know what's going on. They always try to speculate. On Tuesday, Justin Verlander on a hill, 6:45 start again against Bailey Falter, 7-5 with a 3.82 earned run average. Of course, Justin Verlander got his first win against the Atlanta Braves. And then Wednesday, an afternoon game, Logan Webb gets the start for the Giants against Mike Burrows, a right-hander, 1-3 with a 4.7 earned run average. The Giants will travel to the New York Mets next week, Citi Field, for 3 games, and then they go to Pittsburgh for 3 games. So both these teams, they're going to see back-to-back, and we'll find out if they can put the fire out against the New York Mets, and maybe they can win the series next week in their hometown. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Gene in Roseville. Gene, you're on Extra Innings Sunday Night Show with Bill Laskey. Hope you're well.
Hey, Bill. First, I got a comment and then a couple questions, if I may. First comment is the Atley Hammaker All-Star curse leads on. Rodriguez didn't give him any home runs. Allowed it in the All-Star game. Now he's giving up the home runs when he's pitching. Webb,
yeah, his 2 home runs today were really, he only had 1 home run given up in 43 games, Gene. So today, both of those balls were hit pretty well. I know the slider to Mauricio was supposed to be down and away. It came down in the hot zone for a lefty. And, of course, Soto, he got the fastball up, and Soto went to left field. You're absolutely right. I mean, he did give up 2 home runs, and it cost the Giants the win.
Yeah. Well, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like when the Giant pitchers get in the All-Star game, it seems like either do bad in the All-Star game or when they come back, they're not the same. Even Logan Webb is starting to get lit up a little bit now, too, so I was a little concerned. But anyway, a couple questions. Number one is it time for JT Snow to sit down with Bailey and talk about not switch hitting anymore?
I would really wonder about that. I don't think JT Snow would have anything to say about it. You know, they were talking about it. If you watch the broadcast on ESPN, they were talking about where he stands in the box, and they felt that if he moved up or moved back in the box a little bit more to see the ball a little more, I thought that was really a good point because you see him up in the box and he chokes up, but he seems to swing at those balls down out of the zone. Of course, with Senga pitching today, the fork ball got him the first time up, punched out on 3 pitches. He hit a fly ball to left field. Then he punched out again in the 6th inning. He hit that line drive to center field. But, again, when you're looking at his stats, 204, he was hitting under 200 for many parts of that first half. I'd like to see him either go left-handed or right-handed. You're absolutely right. I just wonder if they're even talking about that, Gene.
Yeah. Yeah, and then as far as Yaz goes, you know, I've liked Yaz, but you know, I think that Melvin moving him up and down the lineup is a bad thing. He is really just about a 7th or 8th place hitter, and he seems to do his best when he's there. And when he gets hot, seems like Melvin moves him. I think he just should stay at number 7 or number 8, and I think if he's a little bit more comfortable there and a little more consistent.
Yeah, Gene, you know, listening to Bob Melvin on his post games and his pregame shows, he would love to have one lineup out there, but with all the inconsistencies, that's why he's trying to move guys around. You saw Jung-Hoo Lee in a terrible slump in June. He started getting hot. He goes 3 for 4 yesterday, back in the leadoff spot. I think that's your best leadoff hitter against righties or lefties if he can just put the ball in play. But I think all callers that I've been taking, as well as watching it myself, he's trying to hit the home run ball. He's swinging so hard instead of using that bat like a baton like the old Tony Gwynn days, and just get on base, hit the ball to left field, just hit the ball through the hole. I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, well, so would I. I'd love to also see a little bit more of the hitting prospects. You know, it just seems funny. Like you look at the A's, and they got a 23-year-old shortstop that was an All-Star,
Wilson.
and they
Jack
got
Wilson.
a 22-year-old first baseman. They hit four home runs. They seem to sign the prospects and bring them up, after a year or 2 years, and under the previous regime, it seemed like we would sign some hitting prospects and just keep them in the minors all the time.
You got a
and
good
the
point there,
cupboard is
Gene.
bare
You really
as far
do
as
have a
hitting,
good point.
as far as hitting goes, except for Elbridge, maybe.
Yeah, you got it. You also got Grant McCray down there. He's doing real well, but he's striking out too much. I think that's one of the biggest thing that they're watching. You talk about Bryce Eldridge. He's only hitting 225, even though he has home runs. He's got 7 home runs. Only 20 years old. I don't know if you take a risk on him and bringing him up if he's not going to play first base every day or in the lineup every day. Buster Posey today on ESPN said, we want these guys to play every day. We want to see them go through an entire season and not come up here and sit on the bench. So those are key points. I think when they start illustrating on younger players and younger hitters, I think they want to see them go to bat every time, 3-4 at-bats every game. But you're absolutely right about the Oakland Athletics. If we say Oakland A's, it's Sacramento, and you really call them Athletics. They have a ton of young talent, and each one of them's doing extremely well right now. They beat the Astros 3 straight games in Houston, and Houston's first in the AL West.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Bill, in my 78 years of following the Giants and seeing you pitch and stuff like that, I really appreciate what you're doing. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Gene, and thanks for picking up the call on a Sunday evening and telling me your thoughts. I appreciate that too. Let's go to Brian. He's in Modesto. Brian, a late night extra inning post game show, but I love talking Giants baseball right here on KNBR. What do you have for me?
Well, in my 49 years of watching the Giants, I've never seen the Giants go 0 for a series. I have never seen it.
Did you see the stat was thrown out there, Brian? I'll throw this one out there. 0 for 23 in runners in scoring position, and the last time that happened was in 1931 when they were 0 for 20, so they broke a record today.
Nothing to hang your hat on.
I knew that gets you speechless.
Yeah, well, the ship hasn't sunk yet, but somebody's got to shove right now. I mean, right now. Mm-hmm. Somebody's got to take the bull by the horn.
I think you're going to get a couple moves here. I think you're going to see some moves here. I think that's what they're looking at, and maybe a starting pitcher, maybe another bat or two. Something's got to pull. These guys are working as hard as they can, but it's just not working when you're looking at 2-7 coming out of the All-Star break, and both those games were wins in Atlanta, and now you're facing teams like the Toronto Blue Jays winning the AL East, now the New York Mets winning in the NL East, and you lose 3 games to both of them.
So why do you think it's not working? I mean, I'm as puzzled as anybody, and this chronic lack of hitting with runners in scoring position goes back to Bochy.
You're right. That's
Except
a good call.
Except for maybe the 107-win year when everything fell in.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think a lot of it is inconsistencies. I think you and I have talked that before, Brian, the inconsistencies of the lineup, the changing of the lineup, different guys in different positions. And then you had also Chapman going down for a month. That was a big key loss. He's starting to swing the bat a lot better. Those balls today were mashed. But you want to see Devers start hitting. He seems like he's pressing. I just think he's pressing too much. He's just got to get relaxed a little bit more. You can see the facial expressions, and he's always looking back at the board when he strikes out to see where the pitch was. And you start seeing the little things in the dugout. I'm sure you saw it too. He was frustrated today. And you just got to see these guys relax a little bit more and not press. And Willie Adames is coming out a little bit better. You and I have talked about him earlier where he was struggling, but he's starting to hit the ball better. Played a good defensive game tonight. I thought he played very well in the field.
This is where we might be in a quandary because we've got some nice up-and-coming pieces in the bullpen. Lucchese and Gage. And, Bivens is a little inconsistent, but I'm really impressed with Lucchese. I mean, his
boy, he's been
his
lights out,
makeup.
hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that's
Gage
been bouncing around, too. Joey Lucchese's been bouncing around. He played with the Mets at one time. But he's got nasty stuff. He's all arms and legs, and he's got that funky motion. But, boy, he's been throwing consistent for the Giants. His earned run average is under 1.5 now.
Yeah, well, as far as the hitting is concerned, part of it is bad luck, and part of it is just I mean, I don't know. It's like I have to do everything myself. I've got to be the one to hit the ball over the wall. Everybody says put the ball in play. I've watched baseball since 1969, I think, when Willie Mays was still playing. And I've seen team after team after team know how to situationally hit, poke the ball the other way. I've seen plenty of them do it, and yet the Giants don't seem to really mentally bust their rear end in order to do that. And it's a mental thing. It's totally mental.
I just think we go back in time, Brian, and we talk about guys choking up. I just talked about it a minute ago, choking up, putting the ball in play, and I think that's what they need to do a little bit more. The strikeout is starting to add up, close to 800 strikeouts now for the Giants, and I think that has to get cleaned up. But they're not going to change their approach. They're not going to change their swing path. They're not going to change where they stand in the box. Those are the things. I just think right now the discipline, as you're talking about, I think it has to change with the swing path going after certain pitches. And I had a caller earlier, which I thought was really a good point. The first pitch, why aren't we launching the first pitch? Why aren't we swinging at the first pitch?
Well,
interesting.
I am not a big fan.
It is.
I'm not a big fan. No, I'm not a big fan of one pitch outs. I mean,
what if you get a one pitch hit?
Well, yeah, but if you even if you make it out, the goal is to get pitches out of the starting pitcher, wear him out. There's a
I
lot
understand,
of
but I'm just talking about in certain situations, like I'm saying, the runners in scoring position, getting a pitch those first couple pitches, because the pitcher's trying to get ahead. They're in a hole. They got runners ready to score, so they're trying to make that 0-1 pitch. When I was pitching, that was the first thing the pitching coach would say, go after him that first pitch, see if you can get a ground ball, see if you can get an easy out. And you said it, maybe you're going to get more outs if you swing at the first pitch, but I'm seeing too many guys taking that first pitch, and it looks like it's down the middle sometimes.
Right, and I will leave it with this. We talked about 1982. One of my favorite visuals of all time, Bill, was when the Giants won the 10th in a row with Reggie hitting the game-winning home run. You were the first man to greet him at home plate.
I was loving doing that, man. You saw me. I was one of the tallest guys on in that dugout, so it was fun. Those were some great times, and 1982 was my rookie year. So many good things happened that year, too, and we almost pulled it off, but a couple bad games against the Dodgers on that Friday and Saturday before that final game, it just pushed us out, but at least we pushed the Dodgers out, right, Brian?
Right, and in 79 and 80 combined, the Giants only beat the Dodgers 9 times in both years combined. So you can only imagine how appreciative I was when you guys swept the Dodgers in L.A. I watched every inning of those games.
Those were fun games. Those 3 games were right at them, too. Darrell Evans was playing shortstop one of those games, Brian. You remember that?
Yeah, and I remember that double play ball that went over Bill Russell's head, too.
Well, Brian, thanks for the call. It's always a pleasure catching up with you, and let's see if the Giants can turn around and get a couple wins here when the Pirates come to town. Let's go to Oakland and talk to my buddy Mike. Mike, you're on Extra Innings. Good to talk to you again.
Hey
there, Mike?
Bill.
There he is. There he is. I knew you were hiding.
I just wanted to start off by saying, I love you, Bill, and love everything you do for the game of baseball. And
never forget and always love for your good friend Vida, who is also all of our friends.
He sure was, wasn't he? He was a special person, really special person. I had a buddy of mine send me a picture of him the other day, and it was one of the fantasy camps we went to, and Vida and I were sitting in two chairs, and you could say one of us were laughing at each other and laughing both of us. We had the biggest smiles and laughter, and I just love those pictures because he and I had so much fun together. We were always ripping on each other or ripping on somebody else and just jarring with people. But that was great about Vida. He had a personality that could do that. He was always that loving man. He was always around people. I always called him, he could be the mayor of Oakland or he could have been the mayor of San Francisco. That's how many people he enlightened.
I am very disheartened that I never met that great man, but I felt like I knew him from all those weekends spent listening to the two of you.
Those were some fun shows. I think we laughed more than we talked because we were talking to callers. Callers were calling in, telling them they remembered all the things when he had a fro and he had a fro and a pick in his hair and just some funny things when he was a younger kid that I didn't know, because he grew up in Oakland, and of course he was fabulous when he was with the Oakland A's. I got to meet him when he came over to the San Francisco Giants, and that's kind of where I got to know him. And then when both of us retired, we did a lot of things for the San Francisco Giants as ambassadors, and next thing you know, we were on TV. We were doing the NBC Bay Area for 7 years. And then KNBR came up and said, hey, you guys want to do a Saturday show? And all of a sudden it was On the Hill with Vida and Bill, and those were some fun 3-hour shows on Saturdays.
I would like you to know that my now 8-year-old daughter is not a huge fan of baseball, but she definitely remembers the two of your voices. And she definitely laughs along with some of those stories. So I do have fond memories of getting.
Well, Mike, tell me what you think about this Giants team now, Mike. Let's turn the page. Let's talk Giants baseball. 54 and 52. Yes. Where's this team going?
I really don't like the constant talk of need of infusion for the bats. I think that this core is established at this point, and the devastation to the pitching staff is where we're just really reeling. And obviously just from this past endeavor, putting Bivens out there after he was clearly struggling, both John and Dave were both talking to it. I didn't see the game, but I was listening to it, and so when he was missing high and when he was missing wide, when he was missing clearly, it's like, okay.
Well, he pitched 3 good innings though. Mike, he threw 3 good innings. Right. He got out of it with that one ball back to him where he threw the Adamas and had a double play.
And it sounded
and
like
literally, I was writing in my book, that was excellent. 3 innings, 4 hits. He only given up 1 run. I thought he did a fabulous job coming in. Of course, with the bullpen, he ate up 9 outs. I just didn't understand why Bob Melvin put him back out there the next inning. I thought it was over. I really thought I was going to see Carson Seymour. Of course, Joey Lucchese was another one. They'd had some arms rested down there, so I was a little puzzled about that, and he goes back out there and hits double-double, and he was done. But it ended up costing the Giants another run right there because the Giants had the lead.
And it sounded like he made an extremely athletic play to make that double play.
He did. A nice play, too. I mean, he caught it to his left, turned, made a nice running. It was kind of a running throw, but he put it right on the letters with Willie Adames. He threw for the double play.
To make the throw, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it, he was pumping his glove when he came off the mound, and I was like, that was a good, solid 3 innings. I just didn't understand why he went back out there. And like you said, John and Dave were perplexed also.
Right, and then, so when was the last time Rodriguez went 2 games in a row, and not only 2 games in a row, but then he went back-to-back innings?
Yeah, he did.
He was solid in that first, boom, boom. He got those outs. It's like, okay, let's go to Rogers, or let's. it didn't.
Well, you had some other options down there. I just didn't. The other thing I didn't understand after they put Rodriguez in and Rogers came in and only for a third of an inning, then they went to Beck and Jelly, and the game was still tight. Beck's been pitching fantastic. Another shutout inning. Jelly, I just didn't understand why they brought him in for that ninth inning. The score was still 4-3, and he gives up a double and another double. He gets out of the inning. I thought right then and there they pushed it too far. Maybe they could have gone with Beck one more inning because he does throw multiple innings. We just don't know what move's going to be made here with Carson Whisenhunt. That's the other thing that as an analyst, and I'm knowing what's going to happen, they got to get rid of a pitcher. Somebody's either going to go to AAA, and they also have to get a person off the 40-man roster. So moves are going to be made here in the next 24 hours or less because Carson Whisenhunt wasn't on the 40-man roster. So he'll be on the roster, he'll be on the 25-man roster, and he'll be pitching tomorrow, which is going to be an exciting time at 6:45.
I do say that I am excited for that arm to come up because you, as anyone else knows, we need help in that starting rotation. We can't do bullpen arms every game with just, Webb.
Don't forget. I'm sure,
Ray,
Mike, you remember this. All the years when Farhan was here, and all those openers that we kept watching. It seemed like every other day, and I can't do that. I don't think you're going to see that either. I don't think this regime's going to have that happen. Today they had to do it because of Birdsong.
Wow, that was such a disappointing season for Birdsong to this point. That's disheartening that it fell apart.
He
that
pitched
way.
today. I don't know if you heard me. He pitched in AAA today. He went 4 innings, giving up 5 hits. He gave up a solo home run, 1 earned run, a couple walks, 4 strikeouts. He threw 70 pitches, 45 for strikes. The River Cats ended up winning 13-6, but I think he needs to do that a few more times to build up his confidence because you could tell in that Atlanta games he was burned out. He didn't know what was going on mentally, physically. And sometimes you got to restart the engine, and sometimes you got to go back to AAA and feel those bus rides, feel those early morning flights, and realize I got to bust my tail a little harder to get back to the big leagues.
Yeah, that's what Duvall did.
Yep,
You're
absolutely
Duvall,
right.
Yeah.
It does. It does make you stronger. There's no question about it. It makes you mentally stronger. But we'll find out, Mike. Let's hope for the best with Carson Whisenhunt. But it's always a pleasure talking to you, Mike. I thank you so much for the call. Let's go to Kevin in San Francisco. Kevin, my last caller tonight. You're a lucky man. How are you?
Hey, Bill. Thank you for taking my call, and enjoy listening to you. Before I get into the Giants, you mentioned Richie/Dick Allen and your memories of him and what people thought of him. And my memory of Dick Allen growing up on the East Coast was there were a lot of good hitters in baseball. There were some very good hitters in baseball. There were some great hitters in baseball. And then there were some guys who were fearsome hitters. And Dick Allen was a fearsome hitter. That guy would come up, and he'd hit balls up in the second deck, third deck. I mean, it was like amazing what he would do.
You know, I was looking up some stats on him, Kevin. I'm glad you brought him up. I was just looking at some stats because I love, when I'm watching a game, I'll get on Baseball Reference and look at numbers. And with Dick Allen, he hit Juan Marichal. He hit 371 off Juan Marichal, 8 home runs. And here's the other one. Nolan Ryan, he hit 364 off Nolan Ryan, 3 doubles, 3 home runs. You're talking about a right-hand hitter going against 2 of the fabulous Hall of Famers. And he owned them because he could definitely tell you he owned them. 371, 364 off 2 fabulous pitchers.
Yeah, so that gets into the whole, as you well know, having played, the difference between the regular season and the postseason. And we've seen good pitching all the time. And do you have hitters in the postseason who can really hit good pitching? And there aren't a lot of those guys for sure.
Do you remember the picture on Sports Illustrated with Dick Allen smoking a cigarette and he was juggling baseballs? I'll never forget that Sports Illustrated cover. Back in the day when they would smoke schmags in the dugout and people would just be seeing them smoking cigarettes because that was like the everyday thing.
But it makes perfect sense because, and I do remember his batting average not sitting very, very well on the outside. That was
yeah. And those are the days when they just didn't have any flaps on the helmets, right? They just had the top that covered the hat, and they just put the hat on it. He was always that kind of guy. Those were the times when I remembered watching the older guys play. And, of course, I faced Dave Parker many times. I looked up my numbers. He had 255 off of me with 2 doubles. He didn't hit any home runs off of me. I was pretty proud of that.
That's great. Yeah, Dave Parker was a great athlete. Yeah. So
he was mammoth. He was Kevin when he came up to bat. He was just one of those guys that was mammoth. Him and Dave Winfield, even Dave Kingman. Yeah. Those guys were so big and strong, and their arms reached the outside part of the corners of the bat of the plate. They would cover everything, and you'd try to go up and in on them, and then they'd look at you, and you're like, okay, I won't do that again. I don't want you coming out here. You're pretty big.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's a lot of pitchers in the American League, particularly, who see this guy Judge come up to the plate and have a pretty similar.
Did you get to watch a lot of the Hall of Fame today? Did you have any chance to look at or listen to any of the interviews?
No. I was listening to a Giants game and just kind of getting some work done around the house. So,
yeah, listen to some of those things. They'll be showing those speeches, some of the speeches right from their heart. Billy Wagner really brought one out. And again, Ichiro Suzuki, too, during the ESPN game. Bob Melvin coached up in Seattle. He was very close with Ichiro, and they said Bob Melvin was the only one in his office listening to Suzuki when he did his speech. And he said, very professional. He was funny. He was the first Japan player ever to get into the Hall of Fame, and his numbers were unbelievable. Lifetime .311 hitter, 509 stolen bases, 19 years in the major leagues. And I always talk about the defensive side. He was fabulous in the outfield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great. He had a great arm for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin, thanks for the call. I appreciate you bringing up some stuff on Dick Allen. And if you have some time, listen to those speeches. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. But I appreciate your time tonight, Kevin. All right, coming up next, I sat down with Trent Harris. Trent Harris is a young pitcher that's been pitching in AAA. He was in AA, came up as an undrafted player, and he ended up going to the Futures game, of course, with Carson Wisenhunt. Just a great interview. Sit back, listen to me and Trent Harris, a young player that's coming up, and he's done a great job so far in a Giants uniform. That's coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show on the Sports Leader.
Hi, it's former Major Leaguer Buddy Biancalana. It was my Zone experience in the World Series in which I played the best of my career that led to being the founder of Zone Motion, the only mental training program proven through research and studies to enhance performance and expedite development for athletes of any age. Whether you're a professional or any level amateur, regardless of your sport, Zone Motion is for you. You can check out this life-changing program at zonemotion.com. And go Giants!
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm pretty excited to bring my guest on. He just got back from the Futures game on July 12th from Truist Park in Atlanta. Let's bring in Trent Harris. Trent, how are you?
I'm good, Bill. Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate your time today. And let's just go back to it. How did you get invited to go to Futures game? What was the preliminaries before you left?
Man, I think it was a little bit of a shock. I think it was Whisenhunt, Carson Whisenhunt, and Bryce Eldridge, who I think were the original picks, and of course Bryce kind of went down with a little hamstring injury, and they needed an extra arm, so I got an invite. Skip came in and brought me into his office and told me that I was going to be going to the Futures game, and it's actually really cool. It was a really cool experience. I was really glad I was able to be there and chop it up with Chipper and Tim Hudson and all those legends.
When you were preparing to go, getting ready, the anxiety going into putting your clothes together, getting your details, your itinerary, were you getting a little nervous?
I wouldn't say nervous. No, more excitement. I was excited, wanted to go back home, go back towards the East Coast. But I wouldn't say nerves. Nerves kind of hit me, maybe when they were calling out my name for the starting lineup.
That was so exciting for you. You got to pitch one inning. You give up a double to George Lombard from the Yankees, but then you come back and punch the next two guys out. What were you throwing that day? What were some of your pitches?
Just fastball, four-seam fastball. Tends to have a little bit of cut to it. So, four-seam fastball. Big 12-6 curve, slider, and split. I think I threw a couple times as well.
Well, you walked off the mound putting a 0 on the board. That had to be impressive. You had to be proud of yourself.
Absolutely. Putting up a 0 is always beneficial for the team as well.
Trent Harris joined me on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. He's pitching for the Sacramento River Cats. Let's go back in history here. You went to High Point University. You were a third baseman as well as a pitcher. Tell me a little bit about the early days.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I always kind of was caught in between, positions. I was always smaller than most of the other kids, and then college came around, arm strength kind of caught back up to me, and grinded out, playing a position, my whole life. So I always loved hitting. I always loved, taking ground balls, but pitching, of course, was always kind of my go-to.
You ended up going to UNC Pembroke, Division I school. You ended up pitching there. That was really when everything started coming together for you. What happened there that made you become a better pitcher?
I had Tommy John in 21, so that's kind of why that had a big reason why I transferred out of High Point. But yeah, I mean, Pembroke was a small school that offered me out of high school. Decided to go to High Point, but when I came back, it was just a really gritty school, and there wasn't much going on other than baseball, and they wanted to win, and and that's how I grew up playing. And so when I got back into that kind of atmosphere, all the old memories and the grind times came back, and it was really fun to enjoy that with a good group of guys who really loved to play.
Trent, you talk about Tommy John. A lot of it is a mental side and trying to come back. You had to sit out a year. The slow progression of throwing, getting that feeling back in your fingers to throw a pitch. How difficult was that for being so young?
Yeah, I mean, in college, you always try to feel your way out, and TJ was never in my cards. On my bingo card, never wanted it, but yeah, coming back from it was a little difficult. Originally, I had the surgery, had some numbness in my pinky and ring finger that didn't tend to come back a whole lot, and so when I was taking ground balls, turning double plays, I had a lot of fumbles in my hand, and the numbness wouldn't go away. So I actually got another MRI, and they opened me back up, took some scar tissue out, cleaned it up, and it was almost like a blood rush to my hand. And so when that healed, I was able to come back and play, 100%. And I ended up kind of doing my throwing program through, taking ground balls and throwing a ball across the diamond to first base. And I think that actually really helped me. A lot of people talk about accuracy as one things that, is the slowest thing to come back. And so being able to throw the ball to a target and really focus on hitting a guy in the chest helped me a lot.
And Trent, 2 years after you had Tommy John, everything started coming together. Pitcher of the year for the Coastal Plain League. You had an unbelievable earned run average of .30 earned run average. You dominated. Everything started coming back. Was the breaking ball the last thing that you started really snapping off?
The breaking ball might. I've always had that one. My dad spun it real well. He was a 12-6 curveball guy too, and so when I was a kid, I started to spin it a little bit. Of course, took it real slow, but I would say, arm strength kind of picked back up when I turned into a PO during the summer. I just wanted to focus. I thought, that was my best chance to get drafted and play beyond, college. So CPL decided to just pitch only and really put a lot of emphasis, a lot of focus on that. And I think, it clearly worked out in the best ways.
Trent Harris joined me on the Extra Inning Postgame show. So you don't get drafted, you sign as a free agent to the San Francisco Giants. How did all that take place?
Yeah, it was I had my phone out and in the outfield shagging BP during the summer when the draft was going on. I always had some excitement, some hope that my name would be called. But I talked to a few guys, didn't end up getting my name called, and funny enough, I was packing up to go to the All-Star game. I was gonna start that day, and and then I had Paul Folk, who was, one of the scouts in North Carolina, South Carolina, call me with the Giants, and he was like, I heard you about to start for the All-Star game. How about you, pitch for the San Francisco Giants instead? I was like, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Pretty exciting moment right there.
Yeah.
And of course, both of us as pitchers, we're always shagging. It seems like that's the place we hang out at.
Yeah,
There it
absolutely.
was, in the outfield, and your phone rings, and you're like, okay, I'll do this. I can move in. So you end up signing, and it was 2023. You end up going to rookie ball, dominating rookie ball, 9 games, 3-0, .75. How did they talk to you when you moved up to San Jose? Did they just call you in and say, we're going to move you up another step?
Yeah, I mean, no, there were some other guys that got bumped up before me, and I was just kind of trying to play my role, do my thing, and show what I can do, and finding some success in the ACL. They needed some help in San Jose, and I was able to, give them what they needed in the rest of the 23 year. That was extremely, extremely fun.
So 2024, you go to spring training. They have you penciled in to go back to San Jose. You dominate again, 14 games, 3-1, 1.14 earned run average, 31 and 2/3 innings, 12 walks, 44 punch outs. Just dominated. They move you to Eugene. You go to Eugene, 20 games, 5-2, 2-point earned run average. When you went through San Jose and Eugene, how did you feel the competition was?
Slowly as you go up, hitters, they see the ball a little bit better, they have better takes. And then if you leave the ball in the middle, they hit it. So it was just trying to, not nibble, but fill up the zone and make them make swing decisions. But it was a ball, man. I really enjoyed the low A levels, man. Yeah, great staffs and good teams, good players to be with, man. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you had to be excited when they said, hey, you're going to try Richmond now. At the end of the
Yeah.
season, you got up to go to Double A. Now you go through A-ball. Now you're Double A in Richmond. A good ballpark. I played there back in the day. Great pitching
Yeah.
ballpark.
Oh, yeah.
You pitch a couple games, but you end the season then. Did you play any kind of winter ball or instructional ball? Do they still have that?
Absolutely, they do. But again, I think I threw close to 80 innings that year, and that was the most I've thrown in a single year in pretty much my whole life. So they shut me down for the winter. I talked about it, but they didn't want to, risk injury or anything like that. So I ended up shutting it down, taking October off, and then really, really starting to ramp back up in November with, long tossing actually with my brother.
So, Trent, when you're in the wintertime and you're negotiating another contract for the next year, minor league contract, of course, are they giving you any plans on what they thought you would do? Maybe, go back to A ball, or did you skip that? And they said, hey, no, you're going to start right in Richmond.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a whole lot of communication. You go through spring and, they'll place you with kind of where you finished last year and see, how you compete with those guys. And, spring can bump you up, can move you down. There's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts in spring training. So, to start back in Richmond, I was happy to be back home, close to home, and have my mom and dad come to a few games, man. It was incredible. I was glad I was there.
So that when you break spring training, you're now in Richmond, Virginia once again. Now you're starting in Double A. Now you're
Hmm.
understanding a little better talent. You talked about it, guys hitting the ball a little harder. You got to look at, analytics. You got to look at the opposing teams a little bit more.
Right.
Strictly a reliever, correct?
Right, correct.
So you go into Richmond, 13 games you get into, 16 innings, 11 hits, 4 walks, 25 strikeouts. Unbelievable. Good numbers. Everything was
I
rolling.
appreciate it.
1.89 earned run average. When I look at walks and strikeouts, of course, I was a big league pitcher. I always look at that first because you're
Hmm.
around the zone. You're ahead of hitters. The 0-1 pitch is always the best pitch. What
Hmm.
makes you so effective in throwing strikes?
Man, strike one. It's just it is the biggest key. They talk about, a lot of people talk about batting average going down, but there's a sense of confidence when you fill the zone. You make them make, like I said, you make them make decisions on whether to swing or not, and as soon as you go strike one, you can kind of do whatever you want to them, and that created a lot of success for me. Maybe when I fell behind was to use breaking balls to get back into counts, and especially at those lower levels, those are easy takes, easy strikes that are being thrown if you can throw them in the zone consistently. And so that was my main key.
So the domination again happened in Double A. How did they tell you you're going to go to Sacramento? Was there an injury? Was there an opening? How did they manage to say, you know what, Trent, you're going to move up next? Next step, next.
Yeah, we actually, me and Bryce went up together. Um, we're just on an 8-hour bus ride to Erie,
Mm-hmm.
and we hopped off the bus, and probably 30 minutes into our hotel room, I get a call from Skip, and he tells me that I gotta back up and go to Houston to Sugarland to meet Sacramento, and that was, that's a great feeling. I couldn't wait to call my pops.
Trent Harris joined me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Now you're in the PCL. The ball flies a little bit more,
Oh yeah.
Trent, in PCL. You got to be a little bit better on throwing strikes into spots where they can't get all wood on it. It's
Yep.
a different ballpark. The balls carry. You think it's a fly ball and it might be out of the ballpark.
Right.
Mentally, you got to prepare for this. I'm sure there's a lot of things that you had to learn in the first part that you've been there.
For sure, for sure. New balls, new ballparks, new atmosphere, new air. So it's a lot of new things, but Sacramento opened their arms with or welcomed me with open arms. So I mean, it was a struggle at the beginning. Kind of felt my way, and um, but with guys who've been there and done that, and to be able to be there and support me was huge.
Trent, after you pitch, do you look at analytic numbers? Do you look at videos? What are some of the things that make you better once you pitch?
Yeah, I try to look at location really. When I'm throwing the ball, I can think that the ball's away, but I look back at video and it's in the middle, and that's really why he hits it. And I'm like, damn. But it is, yeah. Try to, make my pitches consistent. So yeah, it's definitely numbers as well. But I would say definitely location wise, and kind of, we see hot and cold zones for hitters, and most times when I give up some damage, it's in a hot zone to a guy that I already knew. So it's just adjustments being made, and trying to not nibble, but not, leave the ball in the heart of the plate.
Well, Trent, you're one step away to get to the big leagues. The dream is one step away. How hard is that sometimes when you lay your head on the pillow saying, hey, I'm almost here. I'm almost where
Yeah,
I want to be?
man, it is. I don't think it's hit me yet, really. It's same kind of way when I got drafted, but being able to be here and play with guys that are rehabbing, and guys that have been up and down through it, it's super cool experience. You know, it's hard to put into words when I'm telling my brother about it, but you know, it's I can't wait. You know, and whenever I get my opportunity, I want to take the most of it.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. I want to wish you all the best of luck in Sacramento. All eyes are on you. I know I've been following you. And I just appreciate your time today and wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, Bill. You as well. Thank you so much.
That was Trent Harris on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday night with Bill Laskey. Giants lose a series. They got swept by the New York Mets this weekend. Of course, they lost 8-1, 2-1, and today 5-3. A couple positive things that happened in tonight's game. Of course, Matt Chapman hit 2 bombs. The first one, a 2-0 cutter, his 15th home run, and went 415 feet. Came back the next inning in the 5th inning and hit a 2-run blast. He hit a fastball, an 0-1 fastball, and he nailed that one. That was 425 feet. 16 home runs on Matt Chapman right now. He goes 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. The bullpen did pretty good today. Spencer Bivens pitched really well, pushed him for 1 inning. Joey Lucchese came in, cleaned it up. He has just been dominant out of the bullpen. Randy Rodriguez had a tough day today, giving up 2 solo home runs. Tyler Rogers, Tristan Beck had clean innings, and Sean Jelly ended up giving up 1 more run in that 9th, which really pushed the Giants behind by 2 runs. All right, tomorrow the Pittsburgh Pirates come into town. I'll be doing the Sports Phone KNBR show on Wednesday. They play a afternoon game, and I'll be doing that from 7 to 9, and I'm going to honor Dave Parker that night. You've been hearing talk about Cobra, and I ended up getting a hold of Bill Madlock as well as Don Robinson. Both those guys played with them when they won the World Series, and they were teammates with Dave Parker. So I'll be doing some interviews with them and bringing that to you on Wednesday. Thursday also I'll be covering it. And from 7 to 9. Of course, Thursday is the last day for the trading deadline, so we'll probably have some news from 7 to 9 on that show and figuring out what the Giants are going to do moving forward. Next weekend, the Giants go to New York and play at Citi Field. And I really love talking about old baseball, as I think everybody knows this. And I sat down with Keith Hernandez this past week and really had a nice chat with him. I have him coming up next weekend. Hojo's another one. Howard Johnson, who also is in the Mets Hall of Fame. Ray Knight's another one. He played with the 86 team. He ended up being the MVP of that World Series. And Roger McDowell, really good friend of mine, a pitching coach with the Braves for many years after he retired. 4 great interviews coming up for next weekend. And, of course, the New York Mets game on Saturday's a 1:10 start. On Sunday, it's a 10:40 start. And those interviews will be on after that. Coming up next, another good, solid infielder from the New York Mets, a good friend of mine, known him for many years back when he was with the Cincinnati Reds. He was a broadcaster with the Reds, ended up doing a little broadcasting with the New York Mets, a 2-time World Series champion, and a Gold Glove winner in 1980 as a shortstop. So sit back. I got a great conversation with my buddy Doug Flynn coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. My guest played 11 years in Major League Baseball, won 2 World Series with the Cincinnati Reds, and has a nice Gold Glove Award from 1980. Let's bring in Doug Flynn. Doug, how are you today?
Bill, I am doing awesome, and it's always good to talk to you, my friend.
It's a pleasure having you on again. And, of course, we reminisce a lot on your career and where it all started. But I want to go back in time with you when you grew up in Kentucky. Was there anybody like an idol of yours that you watched in any sport that you just kind of gravitated to?
Oh, yeah. But growing up here in Lexington, which is a basketball crazy country, you had the University of Kentucky. And so if you're a kid from Kentucky, that's what you want to do. You want to find a way to put on that blue and white uniform. And I was no different, although I graduated from high school at 5'8" and 145 pounds. They didn't really come knocking on my door. So,
But you ended up going to University of Kentucky. This is what's great about it. You did, and you ended up playing some basketball and baseball. Tell me a little bit about how you started to go on that court and get on this team.
Well, it's all divine intervention, I'm guessing, because they had signed 5 scholarship guys to go to Kentucky. This was right after the 1969 season when I graduated from high school. Well, the point guard happened to be a really good baseball player, so got drafted by the Cleveland Indians. So now school is getting ready to start. They got 4 guys. They got 6'11", 6'8", 6'7", 6'4". They got no point guard or somebody that can handle the ball. So because I had so many scholarship offers, let's see, I played 3 sports in high school. I got 0 offers coming out of high school. I was sitting at home, and I get a call that said, look, Doug, we'd like for you to come over and play basketball. If it doesn't work out, we'll give you a baseball scholarship. Bill, I really wasn't very good at either, but I did like to compete, and I kind of fit a need, and so I got an opportunity my freshman year to be a point guard with University of Kentucky. The good news, I mean, that's great news. But even better news is that our varsity with Dan Issel and Mike Pratt were ranked #1 in the country most of the year. They ended up getting beat by Jacksonville and Artis Gilmore. But it was, it's probably the best growing up year because at my size, learning to compete at a higher level and then getting, a lot of help from those guys on that ball club. It was just a wonderful year for me.
Well, as you said, you grew up in Lexington, Kentucky. You were close to Cincinnati. Of course, the Cincinnati Reds were playing at Riverfront. You get a tryout. You go over there with a couple of your friends to try out, and the Reds loved you. The Reds said, "Hey, this guy's pretty good," and they signed you to a free agent contract. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was going to a junior college my sophomore year, not playing any ball, at least organized ball. And some friends wanted to go to a party on a Friday night. Well, I was a designated driver, so I loaded them all in my 61 Corvair. And we went trucking over to Richmond, Kentucky, from Somerset, Kentucky, to hear a group called the Exiles. Well, they later became Exile, had, of course, Kiss You All Over and a couple of really big songs, a lot of big country songs later. But I drove them over, came back the next night. The guys were feeling a little frisky, and I was, slipping on a Saturday morning. Boom. They get a knock at my door. Doug, we're going to go try out for the Reds. And sure enough, there was 3 of them. They came. We loaded up the car. It was more like a dare, Bill, to be truthful with you. So we all go over, and I borrowed a glove and a pair of shoes and went out and tried out. And the first of 4 times that I actually tried out, and finally on the 4th time, Chet Montgomery said, what would it take for you to be a pro ball player? And I went, Coke and a hot dog. I'm whatever. I really wasn't made for college. And I'd actually grown to about 5'11" and 165 or 170 pounds. So I was basically maturing a little bit. And then, from there, 3 years later, was in the big leagues.
That voice you hear in the extra inning post-game show, my good friend Doug Flynn, a 2-time World Series champion with the Cincinnati Reds. And you end up signing, and in 1975, at 24 years old, you get an opportunity to come to the big leagues with the Big Red Machine. Walking into that clubhouse with some of the great Hall of Famers and some of the great Hall of Famers from the Reds, just the Reds Hall of Fame. How excited were you? How nervous were you? And how did you fit in?
Well, I was very nervous because, I'd played 3 years in the minor leagues. And as you know, Bill, the game, the more you start feeling comfortable, then the game starts slowing down a little bit. But I was never known, and to this day, I still get riding about my lack of hitting. And that spring, for some reason, I ended up going 32 for 90. And as you know, most guys don't get 40 or 50 at-bats in spring training. But I happened to get 90 at-bats, got 32 hits, and I think what happened in 75, I started playing real well, and so they kept playing me, hoping that I wouldn't play well. Then they could get rid of me or send me back to the minor leagues. But I just kept playing pretty decent and got a chance to go out on that team and be a backup.
Doug, you come up and you got Joe Morgan at short or second. You got Dave Concepcion at short. You have some great middle infielders to work off of. And you're the young kid. You're the rookie. How did you work in with them and the experience that they had? You had to have learned a lot from them.
I did. I think the key was that our superstars, and there were a bunch, they made it very easy on us, but they also made us feel confident and comfortable so that when we got into the lineup, they told us basically we don't expect any drop off. So when I went into second, or if I went into short where I played most of the time, you just had a confidence, and these guys made you feel like you were invincible. And you played against the guys, you know how good they were. So I think I also learned that when you're young, you keep your mouth shut and you do what you're told. And we've got a few guys on that ball club. We just had our 50-year reunion up in Cincinnati, and they said, "What did you all talk about?" And we said, "We only spoke when we were asked a question." And we kept our mouth shut. We showed respect for the game. And I think because of that, Johnny and Pete and Joe and Tony, the big 4 on our team, those are guys that really went to Sparky and said, we either need this or we don't need that. And they really helped mold that team. So there was not only a bunch of good ball players, but it was also some guys that really got along with each other.
Doug Flynn joining me on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. June 15th, 1977, you're still with the Cincinnati Reds. All of a sudden, they call you in the office and they said, Doug, you're getting traded to the New York Mets. All of a sudden now you're in a big city, New York City. Was that trade, was it brought on? Did you know anything about it? Did you feel that you were going to get traded? What was the anticipation going into that?
Well, you know how our game works. So I'm sitting on the bench on that night. We're playing, and Pete Rose is very animated talking to, in Riverfront, the ball field was close to the dugout. So he's talking to the third base dugout. When the inning was over, and 2 days prior, there had been an article in the paper said these guys were untouchable. I happened to be one of them that was not going to be traded. Pete comes in, sits down beside me, pats me on the leg, and said, and I looked at him and I said, "I'm gone, aren't I?" And he went, "Yeah."
Wow.
I said, "Where am I going?" It had already been announced on the radio. He said, "You're going to New York." And I said, "Which one?" He said, "The Mets." And I went, And I looked at him and I said, "Well, who for?" And kind of, he said, "Tom Seaver." And I sarcastically said, "Straight up?" And he went, "Not hardly." So it's me and 3 other guys, and they may still be sending money to him. I don't know. But, you know, it was a tough year in that. Here I'm a country boy, and I get a chance now to go up to New York. And Johnny Bench told me, he says, "Look, you're probably going to get a chance to play a whole lot more than you would here." But in the spring of that year, Bill, my sister happened to disappear. And to this day, 40-something years later, it's still an unsolved mystery. And so 77, me going to New York with, as you know, they got a foul. In Cincinnati, we have 5 reporters come into the locker room. In New York, you got 5 at every locker. There's 50 of them trying to get a story. And so on a lot of their minds was what was going on with my sister. And I don't think I was mature enough to handle it as well as I would have liked to. And so 77 was a little tough. But those fans up there, if you play hard in New York and you keep your mouth shut, you really won't have a lot of trouble with the New York fans.
Well, they were absolutely right. You did get to play a lot more. In 1978, you got in 156 games, 157 in 79. You were an everyday second baseman, and then you ended up playing shortstop. Tim Foley got injured, and you move over to shortstop. Still, the defense shined. The offense struggled a little bit, but you were playing every day. How did that overcome all the anticipation of being traded? And now you're playing on the New York Mets every day.
Well, you can attest to it. When you're a player, you love being on a team that's good and you like winning, but there's nothing like being in that lineup every single day when you go. And I thank Joe Torre for doing that to me. I know in 78 and 79, I had 2 really good defensive years and wound up finishing second in the Gold Glove ballot. And then in 80, I win it, and I go to spring training in 81, and Joe Torre came to me and he said, "How you feel about playing shortstop?" I went, did I miss something here, Joe? Well, we got a second baseman that's pretty good. They think they want to give him a try. He's got good numbers in the minor leagues. So after the year after winning the Gold Glove, I actually started at shortstop on opening day. And, you know, my thinking was, Bill, all right, that'd be pretty cool if I won a Gold Glove at 2 positions. I guess I'd forgotten Ozzie was still playing, huh? So, but you're right. It was that just knowing when you went to the ballpark that they were going to put you in the lineup, and I'll always be grateful for Joe Torre for doing that.
Well, Doug, you talk about defense, and you talk about the 1980 Gold Glove Award winner. In 11 years, you had a 985 fielding percentage, 103 errors only you made in those 11 years, 672 double plays. A lot of work had to be taken care of, a lot of fungos, a lot of extra work. What were some of the things that you worked on to make you better?
Well, in the old days, you had to take infield every day. They don't take it today. So I had a routine, I think, like most guys do, where I would go out and I would just try to get loose, taking some ground balls early. And then I would try to work with whoever my partner was, whatever position. And I said, let's try to do some game situations, turning some double plays. Then I would try to take as many balls as I could off of the bat from guys taking BP. Then I'd take a few more just to try to stay loose. So, you know, you're going out and you're doing 150 ground balls a day or more. You just didn't want any surprises to happen when the game came. So I always felt like that if I practiced hard on my defense, that when that situation came about in the game, that it wasn't going to be anything new. The game certainly has changed in that guys used to be able to take us out on double plays and certainly would, whereas today it's a lot different. So I felt like there was an art to being able to get the ball, get rid of it, get out of the way of the guy coming to hurt you. And today you don't see that, I don't think, as much because of the way the rules have changed. But, you've got to put the work in. Unfortunately, I put a lot of work into the hitting too, but it's a lot different kind of ball game you see today. These kids are strong and they're big, and I wasn't. But I was just, as Mark Belanger once said, Bill, there's two parts of this game, offense and defense. I'm just glad I was able to contribute to one of them.
Doug Flynn joined me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning Postgame show. You had 7 home runs in your career. June 12th, 1979 was an exceptional home run. It was an inside the park home run. Remember who you hit it off of and where you hit it off of, and how did that all come about?
I believe we were playing the Reds, and I think it was Dave Tomlin. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of the home runs was off Dave Tomlin.
Yeah, and that was the night that I realized that I was no longer a Cincinnati Red. The Reds had scored 5 in the top of the inning, and we came back and scored 10 in the bottom, and I had 2 hits in the same inning. So, as Pete would tell me, that was a good week for me that one night. So, I remember that and hit it. And the Cesar Geronimo, who I think was one of the most underrated outfielders that I ever saw play. Mm-hmm. He was so good. The ball just barely went off the tip of his glove, and I was able to come home. So, it was a special night. There was, as you know, when you play the game, there's a lot of special nights to us as players that maybe the fans don't know about or don't realize, but for some reason it's special to us. Well, that one will stand out because I think that was the night I realized, all right, Douglas, you 3 years in the minor leagues, 2 years in the big leagues with the Reds, you are no longer a Cincinnati Red. You're wearing the Met blue. So it was kind of an interesting night, but bittersweet, but I was glad that we were on the winning side of it instead of the losing side of remembering it.
Doug, as we finish up, we both played at Shea Stadium, one of the hardest ballparks to play in. Of course, the apple would pop up, but the airplanes would be flying right over you. It was a tough ballpark. It was a meaningful ballpark for the New York Met fans. What do you recall something at that ballpark that it's just an outstanding memory for you?
Wow. I can remember going in there as a visiting player, but when I got there as an everyday player, I realized, man, this grass is high. And if you're a ground ball hitter, it's really not going to help you at all. And certainly from a defensive point of view, I loved it because balls that would hit in that grass at all, you knew you probably had a good chance to get to it if it didn't hit the dirt first. And so I loved it from that standpoint, but it was always a little tougher to hit on. And but Shea I thought it was old in 1975. But there's just something about playing there with the airplanes flying over. You get used to it where you don't hear them as much. And that's the first thing that a lot of visiting teams will say when they come in, those airplanes, how do you stand that way? Yeah. As you know, when you're concentrating out there, you don't hear anything.
Right.
When you're going bad, you hear everything. So Bill, I just think we were both blessed that we got the chance to do something that most people don't get an opportunity to do, and I'm forever grateful for the time that I got to spend in the big leagues.
Well, Doug, it was great catching up with you today. Some great stories of Reds and the Mets, and you know what? Continued success on doing those broadcasts.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy, and I'm glad you're doing it. I didn't like to see you from 60 feet 6 inches, but it's a lot more fun talking to you from 2,000 miles.
Well, thanks, Doug. That was Doug Flynn on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader. Did you ever think you could become a big league baseball player? Well, now you can. Come to Big League Coaching Fantasy Camp. It's January 11th through January 17th, 2026 in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Our host hotel is the Marriott Suites for the week. Come play with the great coaches, Joe Youngblood, Shooty Babbitt, Tim Flannery, Scott Garrelts, Mark Davis. Go to bigleaguecoaching.org and sign up today. Become a big leaguer.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show as we wind down a Sunday show here in KNBR studios. The Giants lose today 5-3. The New York Mets came in and swept them. Now the New York Mets can go do that to the San Diego Padres. They play them 3 days in San Diego. They have a 7-game winning streak. And the Giants now have a 3-game losing streak. And tomorrow, let me make that change. Carson Wisenhunt, the number 2 prospect, will get his first start in the big leagues at 6:45 right here on KNBR against Mitch Keller, a 29-year-old. And this is a guy that everybody's wanting to trade for. And who knows, he might be in a Giants uniform. His name was mentioned as one of the pitchers the Giants are looking for. So it should be an interesting 3-game series. Of course, the Pirates are here till Wednesday. I want to thank my 2 guests today, Trent Harris and Doug Flynn. If you missed either one of those, you can also go to the KNBR KNBR podcast. That's where mostly all my interviews are. Hey, I want to thank Kyle Hart. He's been producing the show. Kyle and I did the warm-up show today. He's been there since 2 o'clock, did the game. Fantastic producer. I really want to reach out and give him a high five. He's been with me all day. And thanks so much, Kyle. You did a great job all day, especially doing the game as well as the pregame show and the postgame show. Now I can let him go and go home. All right, for Bill Laskey, I'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday doing the Sports Phone KNBR shows. Next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the New York Mets be doing those post-game shows too, and the Extra Inning post-game show will follow both of those games next Saturday and Sunday. Be safe, be well, have a great week. Tune in to me on Wednesday. I'll be doing the Sports Phone KNBR show then. Have a good night. More coming up right here on